But I'll start with a few questions, and then we can open it up to the audience. I guess I wanted to just start by asking you, Andre, about your leads, Renato and Grace. I know Renato is your brother. You've worked with both actors for your previous features, so I'm wondering, I guess at this point in your collaborative relationship, are you writing with them in mind, or was this a story that you wrote and brought to them?
Sobre o Nato e a Grace, ele sabe que já trabalharam juntos, que ele é seu irmão e tal. E que ele quer saber se você escreve pensando já neles ou se essa história já veio antes deles.
Ah, sim. Bem, sobre o Nato e a Grace, o filme que passou aqui em 2018, né? Temporada, que foi o segundo longo que eu dirigi. Tem os dois, né? Como casal também. E nesse filme especificamente, eu não tinha pensado neles assim de cara, assim como quando eu escrevi.
So, can you hear me? Is it possible? Okay. The previous film that we showcased in the director's film temporada also had Gracie and Renato as they played like a couple, kind of a couple in the film. But in the case of this film, he didn't thought about them while he was writing the script.
Mas acho que a maioria dos filmes que eu escrevi e dirigi, eu já pensei, já penso, né, antes em quem vai atuar, e até isso ajuda até na feitura dos diálogos, né, que tem essa coisa de escrever os diálogos meio que tentando simular com uma pessoa que eu sei que vai atuar, ela fala normalmente no dia a dia.
But most of my scripts I write thinking about a specific actor, and this kind of helps me with the process of writing, especially the dialogues, because I can think about the person and the way that the person speaks to choose the right words.
E trabalhar com os dois, assim, acho que foi algo muito especial nesse filme, assim. Acho que na temporada já tinha sido. Acho que é isso, né? Cada um dos dois tem um grau diferente de formação de atuação.
It was very important. It was very interesting for me to work with them in this film. Each one of them, they have a different experience in acting and a different way of approaching a character. So it is interesting to do that.
A Grace, ela é uma atriz de teatro renomada e tal, e ela é dramaturga também, então isso contribui muito para o roteiro, até para a segunda cena do carro que ela improvisou, que eu pedi ela para trazer uma história, né, e tal. E meu irmão vem de uma formação meio sem uma formação, né, de curso, né, de alguma coisa assim, né, mas também que tem uma experiência muito grande, né, em atuação, já fez mais de 25 filmes e tal, e começou assim, né, eu acho que a interação dos dois, acho que os dois têm muito química, né, na tela, né.
Gracie, she's a very experienced actress from the theater. She has a huge career in the theater. She also is a playwright, so this also helps him in the approach with the character. Specifically in this film, there's a scene, the second time they are in the car, and André asks her to improvise a story, and the story that she tells about the friend and the death, it was something that Gracie brought at the moment. So it's a specific approach. And in the case of Renato doesn't have a professional, like he didn't graduate, he didn't study acting, but he started working first in André's film, and now He already made more than 25 films in the last 11 years. So they have different backgrounds, different experiences, but they bring something interesting, and he thinks that they have great chemistry together.
Yeah, I mean that chemistry is absolutely felt. I was curious just about like what your relationship working with them on set is like. I mean, it sounds like it is a mixture of improvisation and following a script, because I don't know, just watching this film, there's such a like natural light touch throughout that it almost like at times hides the presence of a director, and I mean that in like in the best way, of course. But was that the only instance of improvisation in the car, or was the process of just working with them fairly organic in terms of finding the dialogue and so on?
Bem, dos 3 longas que eu dirigi, eu acho que cada um tem um nível diferente de improvisação, né, que eu vou tentando, assim, vou testando, né. Nesse, eu acho que por conhecer também os dois, né, o Nato e a Grace, eu fiquei muito à vontade, assim, principalmente para deixar as cenas dos dois maiores, né, para um diálogo mais solto, e dentro disso eles improvisavam no sentido, assim, principalmente do modo de falar deles, né.
In each of my 3 films, I had a different approach of how to work with improvising moments and scenes. And in the case of this film, since I am very I'm very close to them, I felt very. It was very easy for me to let them conduct a lot of longer scenes and let the dialogue flow inside the frame. And usually the improvisation and maybe the ad-libbing, I don't know, it happens through the dialogue, or specifically how the characters speak the dialogue.
Assim como no Temporada também, que eu pedi a Grace para fazer exatamente isso, assim, de pensar uma situação, uma história que ela ia contar para o outro personagem, né, para o outro ator. E aí foi a segunda cena do carro, que eu pedi ela para contar uma história, só que teve um caso diferente, né, nessa coisa dessa improvisação.
So in Temporada, there's also a scene that he asked Grace the same thing, for her to tell a story to the other actor, something that she needed to make up something. And in this case, it was the scene on the second scene in the car, but there was something different in this case. Okay.
Que a Grace trouxe, né, uma história que era parecida um pouco com essa que ela contou, mas isso foi no primeiro take, né? Mas no segundo take eu pedi ela para mudar algumas coisas, até para meio que surpreender o meu irmão, né, com a história, e que ele pudesse o meu irmão pudesse improvisar dentro do improviso do improviso.
But she brought this story, and in the first take, it was a story similar to the one that we have in the film, but then he asked for a second take, and on the second take, he asked Gracie to do some changes because he wanted his brother to be surprised by the story and to improvise over the improvisation.
I want to ask you about the driving scene with Luis and Zeca, because watching it strikes me as one of, like, if not the only scenes in the film that like appears to be shot on a kind of stage, or at the very least there's like a projection of the road. And I don't know, maybe this is just a result of like practical safety reasons, or was there another choice that led you to do that?
Aí tem um caso muito engraçado, assim, muito de teimosia nossa, né, da produtora, que é o terceiro filme que a gente faz com a Grace, e é o terceiro filme que ela dirige dos filmes, e ela não tem carteira, né, ela não sabe dirigir.
This is a funny story for him, apparently, not for me, of stubbornness that happens in our company. That it's the third film that Gracie has a character that she has a driving scene or driving scenes, but Gracie doesn't know how to drive. And she doesn't have a driver license, and she really doesn't know how to drive. I can add on that, like on Temporada, the last shot is she's driving, and she had like, I don't know, several. She had an instructor trying to make her go with the car straight and had a turn, and we cut before the turn, but during the turn she almost killed the crew. The DOP is Grace's partner, and she came back to the base telling me, she almost killed me, and I was like, well, okay. And so after Temporada I asked, please, never again put Gracie driving it once again. And then he had this great idea. But okay.
Mas aí a gente teve essa solução de fazer uma espécie de back project, né? Dentro da garagem da casa do meu pai, colocando um madeirite branco assim na frente e uma projeção. E é isso, né? Acho que é uma forma da gente dizer que a gente gosta tanto de trabalhar com a Grace, considera tanto o trabalho dela, porque a gente dá um jeito assim, né, de colocar no filme dirigindo.
So the scene was shot in the garage of his father's house with a small piece of wood, white wood, and a projection behind the car. And for him, it's this demonstration of love, of how to work, that he really loves to work with Gracie, because he make this kind of effort to have her driving the fucking film.
E na verdade, quando a gente considerava que, sei lá, 90% das pessoas iam ver e bater o olho, que é um back projection, né, e tal. E tudo bem se fosse visto como uma coisa meio tosca, né, e tal. Levemente tosca, mas porque eu acho que mesmo assim a gente queria que as pessoas focassem no diálogo, né?
And we were when we were in post, we were thinking like, okay, 90% of the people will see that is fake and it's a back projection. But for him, it was okay. Like he thought that people could find like maybe, oh, it looks like, I don't know, amateuristic, I don't know. But at the same time, he wanted people to focus on the dialogue.
Não, eu já fico feliz que eu percebo que, vendo as projeções, né, eu percebo que, sei lá, pelo menos 50% às vezes abstrai e não entende o que está rolando ali por trás, né,
But during the film's screenings, he's seeing that at least 50% of people, they do not notice that it's a back projection because they are very involved in the dialogue, so they kind of take that away. But I can add that we were discussing this a lot during post, because we had to fix some things on the image, and then we said like, no, it is fake. Fuck it, let's do it like this. So I personally find it funny that in this film that is so naturalistic, there's this very like fake moment.
É bom observação de falar que não sei de onde que eu tirei essa porcentagem, né? Mas
the statistics, he doesn't have any base for it. It came from his head.
Well, I'm sorry to draw attention to the artifice.
No.
I want to maybe like just turn to I just hear you talk about time, how you're playing with time in this film, since it is constantly at the top of our mind throughout. From the problems Eka has waking up on time, people running late, waiting for transit, timing out their medication. There's there's the title itself, and then maybe like most obvious is the 24-hour timeline that the film has as a framework. So maybe to start, can you talk about using sort of a single day to pace this story?
Tá. Eu acho que todos os longas que eu dirigi tem um filme específico que serviu muito como base, assim, de referência, né? E para referência para esse filme, principalmente desde o roteiro, assim, é Alguém Apaixonado do Abbas Kiarostami, né?
All of the features that I wrote, that I directed and wrote, all of them have a feature film that is a major reference for me. And the case of this film is Abbas Kiarostami is Like Someone in Love.
É que tem essa coisa desse tempo, né, de se passar mais ou menos 24 horas também. E o jeito que o Kiarostami trabalha o tempo, assim, que eu acho muito interessante, e que nesse filme eu acho que fica, para mim, assim, com a referência direta, assim, essa coisa de trabalhar o tempo de uma forma talvez não tão objetiva, assim, né? De ter cenas que, dependendo sei lá, de um laboratório de roteiro, ia cair, assim, porque não era muito, não seria muito objetivo para a narrativa, né?
In the case of Kiarostami's film, he also frames the film in a period of kind of 24 hours. So he found it was interesting. And also his approach about dealing with time and inside the scenes, and specifically when with some scenes that in the case of this film, probably like if you think about script labs, events that happens in world of cinema, they would be scenes that will be asked to be dropped off the script because they do not help, let's say, the narrative to go forward. But for him, it was interesting to work them in a way of the timing of the scenes inside the frame. Anyway, I kind of messed up this, but it is kind of this.
Principalmente a primeira parte do filme, né? Eu acho que tem, acho que é uma oportunidade de falar do personagem, falar daquela situação, né? E para mim, assim, acho que não sobra, assim, porque tudo ali está falando a mesma coisa.
Especially in the first part of the film, that he wanted to showcase the character and for us to be close to the character. So for him, those things, I'm gonna say like irrelevant scenes, they are needed for us to be close to the character. So for him, there's nothing that can be dropped. Because we need this time to be close to it.
I guess related to that, I noticed that your art director is also credited with, designing the figurines or something about choosing the figurines in the film, Esther. So yeah, I'm wondering how these objects that we see throughout the film sort of played into this that you're talking about. I mean, what exactly were you looking for in these objects?
Eu tenho uma mania, né, de filmar onde eu moro, assim, né? E não foi diferente desse filme, assim. Eu volto na quinta, era a casa onde eu morava com a minha família, né, com os meus pais e meu irmão.
I have the habit of shooting films where I live. And my first feature was the house of my family, where I used to live with my family.
Eu morei 2 anos nessa casa, né, do Zeca, com minha ex-namorada, que foi a figurinista e a diretora de arte também.
And I lived in this house, Zeca's house, for 2 years with Esther. She's my former partner, and she was the production designer of the film and did the costumes also.
E que é uma excelente artista plástica, e que trouxe muitas ideias. Na verdade, quando a gente começou a morar juntos nessa casa, a gente ficava admirado não só com a coisa dos azulejos, mas muito ali da direção de arte do filme era o que estava realmente ali quando a gente morava lá, né?
And when I moved to that house, first of all, Esther, she's a great artist, a visual artist. And when I moved there, I was very impressed about the house itself, especially Brazilian people, azulejo. The tiles, thank you. Especially the tiles that are like around even the living room. And I thought that was very specific and fun.
E aí foi uma coisa de meio que de tentar encaixar algumas outras coisas, né? Tem uma questão que eu queria muito, assim, tem a ver comigo, tem a ver com meu irmão, assim, que a gente gosta muito de rap, principalmente rap brasileiro, e a gente colocou muitas referências, né, de rap, de hip hop, tem cartazes, sei lá, De La Soul, a camisa que ele usa é de um rapper carioca, né, e tal, por aí vai. O computador tem um descanso de tela que é a Santa Ceia do rap, né, que eles falam, que aí tem, sei lá, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem e por aí vai.
And one of the things that I really wanted to do and put in the film are references that are very important for me and my brother about rap music and local rap music also. So I wanted to put some elements and some clues in the apartment and in Zeca. So like he's wearing, there's a poster of De La Soul, he's wearing a shirt with the face of a Brazilian rapper. On the screensaver on the computer is like the Last Supper of rap, and there's like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem. So this is important for him.
E só para finalizar, eu acho que esse filme, a direção de arte, né, o figurino tem muito olhar da Esther mesmo, e muito um olhar que nós dois temos juntos assim para a vida, assim, né, dessa coisa das mínimas coisas. Ela é de Contagem também, então ela tem um olhar muito interessante assim, sobre a periferia, muito sincero e tal. E a gente foi construindo as coisas juntos e muito de bate-papo antes também, né, das coisas.
So basically, the work on the visual, the production design, and they came from their relationship and their talks, a lot of talks that happened before, and her point of view, the point of view that they share about life and about the periphery life. She's also from Contagem. So it was something that they discussed a long time, even before the shooting of the film.
I guess I'll ask one or two more questions, then we'll hear from the audience. But I would like to hear more about your thinking behind the musical choices in the film. Like specifically there's this like orchestral piece from Grant Still that you use fairly, I think pretty deliberately in the film a couple times. So I guess with regard to that piece, or just maybe with the music selections in general, are you writing with this music in mind, or did it emerge more like later after you'd shot the film and you were editing?
Sobre o William Grant Still, não foi a primeira experiência que a gente teve assim colocando a trilha, né? Porque o primeiro filme que eu dirigi, né? O primeiro filme nosso chama Ela Volta na Quinta, e aí a gente usou algumas músicas, principalmente algumas músicas foram usadas no Kid of Sheep do Charles Bonnet, e que a gente meio que pegou a trilha e colocou mesmo no Ela Volta na Quinta, né?
The use of William Grant Still music is not. This is not the first time that he does that. His first feature film, She Comes Back on Thursday. He also used music by him, specifically because the main. Well, he just said that every film there's a major reference. The major reference of Ela Volta, She Comes Back on Thursday is Killer of Sheep by Charles Burnet, and Charles Burnet uses William Grant Still music, so he wanted to pay homage. Direct homage to it.
E nesse filme eu quis tentar fazer uma coisa que a gente fez nos outros filmes também, que é de meio que colocar uma trilha que aparentemente não estaria ali, né? Naquela cena ali. Tanto para dar um contraste, quanto para dar uma estranheza mesmo, né?
And I wanted to do something that I think is interesting, like to use a piece of music that it's like not supposed to be there, that is kind of unpredicted for the scene, and I think it kind of brings element of weirdness. I don't know, kind of.
E é isso, tipo, são trilhas que remetem um pouco, né? Tem gente que fala que parece trilhas de filmes da Disney e tal, e que eu acho interessante, que realmente parece que são trilhas de aventura que estão ali, e que algumas cenas, né? Por exemplo, a cena que eles correm na passarela, né? De certa forma é uma mini aventura dentro da vida, né?
A lot of people say that this score kind of reminds them of like Disney movies scores and like this adventures feeling, and he thinks that it can work sometimes, like the scene that he was running to get back to the bus. It's like it's a small adventures of daily life, so why not? I'm gonna add something about choosing the songs before the score before. He usually doesn't do that. In this film specifically, I remember that when the first cut of the film is basically the film, when he shared with us, and he sent to me what he called, Brazilian people will understand, juntadão, which was like he put all the scenes one after the other, basically, and he put the final credit song as a bass. And I watched this first cut, and I said, "Wow, the last song is amazing, so beautiful." I was so moved by it. And he said, "No, I just put as a reference, like, oh no, we're gonna keep it. This one we're gonna keep it." So usually we have this kind of fights. Sometimes, like he put like a song as a reference, and I have to like, oh, shit, I know he's gonna be attached to the song, and I'm gonna have to pay for it. But in this case, it was the other way around. But we are currently, like, we were not supposed to be in New York. Now we are in pre-production of his new film, now in Brazil. And in his new film, it's a very different example. I think it's the first time that he mentions in the script, I think 2 or 3 songs inside the script. So I would respond for that. I think it's going to be the first time that he already thought about the songs before shooting.
Why don't we open it up to the audience? If there are questions, raise your hand and a mic will come to you. Yeah, we can get you right here.
Hello, good evening. I think it's funny and a very universal experience to be at your job and meet the only other Black person there and immediately click with them and immediately connect with them. So I've really enjoyed watching that across different cultures. Obviously, I'm not Brazilian, so I like seeing that on screen. So I guess I just kind of wanted to know if there was something specific that made you kind of pick that as a central theme for this movie, or if it was just kind of thinking about that universal experience and that was something that you wanted to incorporate. Thank you.
Eu acho que eu pensei mais como uma discussão universal, talvez, mas eu acho que tem uma coisa assim, né, eu acho que principalmente, talvez, em altos cargos, assim, não acho que seria meio isso, mas em muitos casos, é, tipo, eu já passei por isso, né, de estar num lugar e ser o único preto do rolê, assim, né?
Basically, I thought about more as a universal experience possibility, but in some cases he thinks he experienced to be the only black person in the room or in the job.
E é sempre uma alegria mesmo, assim, quando você encontra pessoas, ou pessoas pretas, né? Ou pessoas de periferia, vindo do mesmo lugar que você, ou lugares parecidos, assim. Então eu quis colocar isso, assim, como primeira questão da identificação dos dois, né? Eu acho importante isso.
And it's always a relief when you see each other, you see someone else that looks like you or that came from the place that you came. So for him, it works as a black person, but also as a person from the periphery of the city. So he wanted to put this as the first element of their possible attachment, of them connecting with each other.
Hi, I will make the question in Portuguese. Primeiramente, parabenizar para fazer cinema, ser brasileiro, eu também faço, é a dificuldade que é. E a minha pergunta é, qual foi o teu desafio para financiar teus filmes? Porque isso é uma das coisas mais desafiadoras para mim. Eu gostaria de saber de você qual o processo, como você faz, e os desafios de financiar cinema no Brasil.
He asked about the difficulty about getting funding in Brazil. I think I'm going to be the one to answer this. André has three feature films. The first one we did with a short film grant, and it became a feature film. The second one we did with a local fund, and it was like half of what is considered in Brazil to be low budget. And this one, he had a sense of urgency that for you to have fund in Brazil, usually you need to go to Ancine, which is the public agency. So in Brazil, differently than in the US, we have public funding. And you have to apply for a call, an open call, and have a project and be analyzed, blah, blah, blah. And if you win the fund, there's a long process of having the contract done and having the money, and anyway. So it can take a long time. Like the second one, which was the first one that we had funding, it took us 3 years between submitting the project and shooting the film. So André didn't want, in this case, to go in this process to tell this story. You were already doing that for another project, that it's the one that we are in pre-production. So he decided to do this film kind of independently. So he called like a cable TV in Brazil that usually showcases our films. It's called Canal Brasil, and he asked them for money, and he said, "Well, I can do this film with 100,000 reais, which is $20,000." So they said, "Really?" And yeah, they gave us $20,000, and we did the film. But yeah, the difficulties of having funding in Brazil, I think it are extreme. I will not be long about it. I would just say that, of course, now that we, and especially in Filmes de Plástico, we have a more established career, we can get funds more easily than first-time filmmakers. But as a producer and as a member of the community in Brazil. I'm very aware and worried about how the funding is going to be spent in the country, because we do have money, but the decisions are being made to concentrate this money in basically distribution companies in Brazil have the power to pre-select the films that will be eligible to have eventually the public funding. And it's kind of an inversion of, I don't know, the logic, I think. So if you are a first-time filmmaker in Brazil now, it's nearly impossible for you to have federal public money if you're not attached to a huge company or a huge distributor. So yeah, it can be very hard. But in our case, of course, when you already have more films, it gets easier, let's say, for us to try to get some of the money. The next film is going to be our biggest budget until now. But yeah, that said, it's never enough. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard.
Hello. Okay. So for Andres, so there was discussion in the movie about Luisa and Zeca both having like antidepressive medication, antipsychosis medication, and I wonder if it correlated to their working life to their working class status, because it looked like from the bus, like we're New Yorkers, we know what the bus feels like when traffic, fucks us over, when the bus gets shut down. We're all upset. And does the medication correlate to the working class life that they have to endure? That is something that's a problem for them? And if so, like how do you make working class how do you make working class the focus of the movie? Because I saw the last movie as well, and it's also very much about working class, something you don't see a lot in any film, period. So I'm interested in knowing about that.
Bem, sobre os remédios, eu não sei aqui, né, mas no Brasil eu tenho a impressão que acho que a maioria das pessoas não estão muito bem, principalmente depois da pandemia, né? Eu falo mentalmente falando.
I don't know about the medication. I don't know if that's the case here, but at least in Brazil, I think I see that people are not doing very well mentally, especially after the pandemic.
Eu tenho depressão, eu tomo remédio e tal, já tem um tempo. Então essas coisas, né, que estão ali, né, com consultoria da minha psicóloga, assim, são coisas que eu realmente vou sabendo assim, aos poucos mesmo.
I have depression. I take medication. So a lot of the things that I put in the film, I had like a consultancy of my therapist to put, because it's something that I deal with in life.
E aí, eu acho que é isso, é colocar no filme coisas também que não são muito ditas e talvez não são muito ditas dessa forma, assim, né? Essa coisa de conversar sobre remédios, assim, que é algo que eu acho que está acontecendo cada vez mais no Brasil, principalmente.
And for me, it's interesting, important to put in the film things that people usually do not discuss, like this, to talk about medication and having depression. And it's something that it's a discussion that is increasing, at least in Brazil. But he thinks that it's important to put in the work also.
E sobre a classe trabalhadora, eu acho, antes de começar a fazer cinema, eu tive uma larga experiência em várias áreas, assim, né, de trabalhando, sei lá, videolocador, eu trabalho em obras de construção civil, trabalhando em combate a endemias, que é o trabalho que aparece no próprio filme Temporada, né, e tal. E trabalhando em biblioteca também, assim, né? Mas independente disso, eu acho que o que eu vejo nesses trabalhos que eu coloco no filme são oportunidades de trabalhar mais coisas ali, de construir os personagens de uma forma melhor, até por conhecimento próprio também, né?
About the working class, for me, it's important to portray different aspects of it. In this case, before working with cinema, I had a lot of jobs. I worked in a video store. I worked in construction. I worked as a health agent. That in Temporada is the job that the character has. And in this case, he also worked in a library. So for him, those are elements that are important to help build the world of the characters. And those are things that he knows pretty well because he did the job.
E também de referências principalmente filmes brasileiros que trabalham nessa questão da classe trabalhadora, né? Sei lá, pegando até o Carlão, né? Casa Echembar e tal. Mas não só, sei lá, filmes que eu lembro agora, tipo Arábia, né? Do Afonso, que também é de contagem, assim. Então essas coisas todas vão juntando e vão aparecer nos filmes.
There also have references for him about films that deal with working class themes and characters, like Araby, which was also a film that was screened here in the Directors and Films, and the work of Carlos Reichenbach, which was a Brazilian director who was a great influence for us. As an Easter egg, I would say that if any Brazilian people notice a funny Easter egg about Carlos Reichenbach over there, we can talk about this later.
I think we're out of time, but if there was a last question, we could take it. Yep, we can take right here. It's the last one.
Hi. It was such a wonderful film, and I just wanted to ask, at the end, we obviously see that Zekas has this new perspective on life, and things are changing. Even though he lost his job, he has this budding romance, and he, woke up on time. And at the end, there's the shift. Well, the image becomes cropped. So at what point did you decide to change the aspect ratio at the end? Was it earlier, like when you were drafting the script, or like during shooting, or was it in post-production where you decided to change the image itself?
Bem, tem uma influência muito grande de filmes americanos dos anos 70, assim. Eu não lembro... Tipo assim, eu lembro de assistir muitos, assim, que tinha essa coisa dessa mudança, né, de aspecto. Eu lembro, sei lá, talvez Sidney Lumet, assim, tem alguns filmes assim, né? Ou que no começo muda o aspecto no final, né, e tal. Eu sempre achei isso muito bonito, assim. E
I have this memory of some films from the 70s that had this aspect ratio change in the film, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the end. He specifically doesn't remember one film, but it happened sometimes, maybe in Lumet's film or something, and he always thought that this was very beautiful.
E se não me engano, eu acho que estava presente já no roteiro, né? Isso, eu lembro no final já estava presente no roteiro, e principalmente a coisa dos créditos finais subindo, igual o final do filme do Kiarostami.
And if he's not mistaken, it was already on the script. This change, this and also the idea of the final credits coming at the end, like it happens. That also comes from Kiarostami's film, the one that we mentioned, like Someone We Love.
E aí, acho que igual você falou, acho que tem a ver com essa coisa de algo diferente que vai acontecer, né? E aí a gente corta o filme ali, né? Eu acho que essa coisa do aspecto tem a ver com isso, assim. Talvez de uma passagem ali de uma coisa que vai ser realmente melhor, aí se pensa nessa coisa mais cinematográfica, talvez, da vida. E o CinemaScope acho que tem a ver com isso.
And it's for him the anticipation of a change or something that's going to happen, and in this case, something beautiful that can happen in his life, in his future. And in the case of cropping and doing like the CinemaScope format, it's very cinematic. So it's almost like relating the film to an idea of I don't know, fantasy or cinema or something, and he thinks that's beautiful.
That's an appropriate place to end. Andre, Diego, thank you so much for your film.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.